Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Today, we are going to talk all about what is in store for the 2023 housing market. I am so excited to be with y'all, and hopefully, everyone that is watching out there right now can hear me. It's been a while since we have been together on a live stream. Obviously, we have the holidays and all the activities that come with the holidays as well. And I'm sure that most of y'all, if you're anything like me, you are still in kind of holiday mode. We're in that weird time in between Christmas and New Year, and not really knowing what is going on and what we're supposed to be doing with ourselves right now. But I am still here working with clients day in and day out. We just put a offer in for a client today, so fingers crossed that that offer will be accepted. But today we're talking about what is in store for 2023, and I recently saw a headline and it asked, is a deep freeze ahead in the real estate market? And I'm going to go ahead and take these off now. So speaking of a deep freeze, y'all, it has been so cold in most parts of the country, and especially here in Georgia. And this is a cold that we are not used to at all, and our houses are not used to. So we actually, I say we, my husband and I actually went to go see his in-laws in Indianapolis. And so we were not here over Christmas when the deep freeze came here in the North Metro Atlanta area, and we went to somewhere even colder. So when we were there, it got down to -10 with a wind chill down to -30. By far, that's the coldest weather that I have ever experienced. And I was scrolling through Facebook, looking at all of my friends' posts down here in Georgia, talking about busted pipe after busted pipe after busted pipe. And so we were fortunate enough that we turned off the water to our house before we left to hopefully prevent anything. Luckily, we came back, nothing was burst. However, we are having current problems with a dishwasher flooding. I'm not sure if that's related to the deep freeze, but I wanted to show you some pictures of Lake Lanier during the cold. So look at that, y'all. That is, I guess, wind whipping across the top of Lake Lanier, and it looked so eerie and cool. And this is another great picture that a photographer took of Lake Lanier during the really deep cold that we got. So I'm sure most of y'all watching throughout the country, y'all are used to this deep cold that we got here. So it got down into the single digits here. And I'm not sure where or what the record is for this area. Need to figure that out. But for sure, this is kind of like a once in a lifetime type thing. And our houses were definitely not used to or prepared for this. So plumbers were incredibly hard to get in touch with. I saw many people reaching out trying to get a plumber on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, or not New Year's, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. So I'm sure that they worked really hard, and I'm sure they made a lot of money as well. Yeah, and this weather has just been absolutely crazy. So I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. I wanted to share with y'all, at my house, we got a new puppy for Christmas. That's Hank. So we have Karen Terriers, and he is a little Karen Terrier puppy, so Toto from Wizard of Oz. And we took him with us to my in-laws in Indianapolis. And along the way, we stopped at the gas station Buc-ee's. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you have not gone to Buc-ee's, it is like a destination gas station, over 120 gas station pumps, and they have like homemade goods. So fudge and jerky, and they have barbecue there. It's kind of like a mini Walmart off of the interstate, and there's several of them on the East Coast, up and down various different interstates. But it is definitely an experience if you've never been to Buc-ee's. But we got him a little Buc-ee's hoodie there to help brave the weather. Charles said, yeah, brisket's up. So They do like this chant in the store whenever they bring out the cooked brisket. And they have these really, really great treats called Beaver Nuggets. And it kind of tastes like a Captain Crunch cereal almost. It's like really, really sweet corn, almost between a Cheeto, but a sweet Cheeto. So no cheese involved, but kind of like a caramel, sugary, crunchy thing. We bought 3 bags of those and took them with us, and his parents and everyone in Indianapolis just devoured those. So that was fun. That was a fun little trip, and Hank enjoyed his little Bucky's sweatshirt there, and it kept him warm. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas, and I'm sure if you're like me, you're looking ahead to 2023. And so I would love to know what you're most looking forward to in 2023. Gosh, I think I'm most looking forward to the new year, right? New year, new goals. And there's always something refreshing that comes with a brand new year. Especially here in real estate, we get to help a lot of great families and people buy houses. And so there's new professional goals that come along with 2023, and things are going to look a lot different in 2023, especially in the housing market, than it did in 2022. And for sure, the past couple of years has been a wild ride in real estate. And so we're here trying to navigate and figure out what is ahead for 2023. So I would love to answer any questions that you may have about the market, about what's going on, any concerns, anything like that. I'm here to answer your questions and help you navigate this roller coaster of a real estate market that we are in. Let's see here. Let's look at, I want to share with you an article from money.com. So they interviewed some expert economists and wanted to share that with you so that you can see what the experts are calling for. And I'll give you my opinion on that, and we'll kind of talk through that together. So let's see here. Let me get this geared up. So again, this article came from Money, and it's their 2023 housing outlook. All right, so scrolling back up to the top here. So it's 5 expert predictions for the housing market in 2023. And no surprise here, they're saying that home sales are going to slide. So you've seen this in headlines splashed all across any news outlet that you watch, anytime you're scrolling on Facebook or TikToks that you may be watching, wherever you get your news from, you are going to see headlines that just say that the sky is falling in the real estate market. So in 2021 and 2020, we had record low interest rates and double-digit home price increases. We know this, right? So there's low inventory that created bidding wars. That created a mess for buyers. And because of the pandemic and all kinds of crazy stuff, they created kind of like that huge demand for housing, and that's what drove those prices up. Well, we all know that just was not sustainable. In the Atlanta area, we had year over year home price increases averaging around 20%. So I recently had a buyer that I'm working with, and he reached out to me and was looking at the history of a home price. And he was like, the sellers just bought this house in 2019. They're selling it now for $200,000 more. That does not line up with, an annual appreciation of 6%. I'm not going to pay that. And so we kind of had to have that conversation of, hey, let's go back and think about the past 2 years. We've had 20% year over year home price appreciation. That's why the prices are where they're at right now. So the experts here are predicting that home prices are going to increase about 7% year over year, according to the National Association of Realtors, to as much as 16%, according to the real estate brokerage Redfin. So, well, let me back that up. They're saying that they're expected to decline 7% to 16%. And a large part of this is hugely dependent upon where in the country they're looking at. So you have to remember that these articles, they're talking about the entire country as a whole. If you look at the West Coast markets, those are the markets right now that are really driving a lot of these home price declines. Home values are actually falling here. But here in the Metro Atlanta area, we're seeing a very, very negligible decrease in home prices, just around 1%. And so if you think about that, if home prices have had 20% year over year increases and they only fall by 1%, is that really that much of a decrease? Or maybe we could say that the housing market over the past couple of years has been overvalued. And so if we're getting back to a more normal appreciation and that home prices only fall 1%, that's still a huge 19% year over year gain when it comes to the actual home prices. So here is another huge factor that we need to take into consideration, and that is that mortgage rates are likely to pull back. So this is exciting. I am very excited about this prospect for buyers right now, especially here in the Metro Atlanta area. So we had a 20-year high of just over 7% in early November, and I was actually seeing clients even get quoted rates in the mid sevens. But ever since early November, we have been on a downward spiral in the past couple of weeks when it comes to mortgage rates. So they actually got as low as the high fives 2 weeks ago, and then they just bumped back up to right around the low sixes. And so this is a huge improvement for buyers, especially in your buying power. And when we look ahead to 2023, we are anticipating that those interest rates are going to come down even more. So you see that below 6% by the end of the year. So we're not quite below 6%, but next year we will get there. Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist of NAR, says that he thinks that the 30-year mortgage rates are going to be at around 5.5% towards the end of next year. And they are anticipating that that's where mortgage rates are going to settle, and that's going to kind of become the new normal. So we know we are not going to likely ever see those 3% interest rates again, or 2.5% interest rates. And as the mortgage rates become more stabilized, it's my prediction that we are going to see demand increase again in the Metro Atlanta area, and potentially maybe even create in some price points that buying frenzy again, because we have so many people that were not able to buy a house in 2020, then they couldn't buy in 2021. And so here they come around 2022 and they think, oh, okay, great. Yeah, now's my time to buy. And then interest rates just skyrocket again. So that is definitely something to keep in mind, that if you're on the fence about buying a house, especially in the Metro Atlanta area, it's my recommendation that you really consider doing that sooner rather than later, because I do think that, especially in some of the more traditional price points between, $250 to $500, $600, depending upon the area, we are going to possibly have the potential to have these bidding wars again for some of the better houses, or even just for decent houses, as the interest rates stabilize again and buyers become much more comfortable. Charles is saying that the Atlanta housing prices will not decrease, but they balance out for 2023. And you are spot on in that analysis. And that is also what the experts are predicting as well. So jumping back over here to this article, let's see. Let me share a different screen with y'all. So to Charles' point, so that NAR economist also kind of shared their predictions for 2023, and they had something interesting to say about the Atlanta market. So they're predicting under 5 million home sales in 2023. And they're talking again about markets like California and San Francisco. They're expecting those home prices to drop 10 to 15%. And again, we're seeing that on the West Coast. We're seeing that in the Dallas, Texas area. But they are forecasting that Atlanta, if you'll see here, is going to be the top 10 real estate markets to watch in 2023 and into the future. And they're expecting the Atlanta market to outperform other metro areas in 2023. And so here you have those areas of where they're expecting to continue to still have the demand for housing outpace the supply. And so what do we know about that? When you have more demand than there is actual supply, that causes prices to increase. And we're expecting those home prices to increase by around 5% in 2023. That's what the National Association of Realtors economists is predicting for the metro Atlanta area. And that is a return to a more normal market. That is what we're expecting. So something to keep in mind, we have a lot of conversations with clients all the time that are thinking about relocating here to our area. And I hear it all the time that the home prices are going to fall. I'm just going to wait for the market to crash. And by all means, you can definitely get your own information and get your own data and interpret that to make the best decision that you can for you and your family. But I'm telling you, we are different here in the metro Atlanta area. We are just not really anticipating that type of market drop. And only thing is that time will tell, right? Time will be the truth teller in this, but sometimes waiting for that event to happen and it never happens, and then home prices continue to increase. And let's say some competition comes back into the market because more buyers are becoming more comfortable with getting out there and getting their loan at a 5.5% rate. And so they're wanting to house shop, and then they get into bidding wars again. And then all of a sudden, if you're a buyer that's been sitting on the sidelines for the past couple of years, you may find yourself in a situation where you're still outpricing yourself from a home that you could have bought months ago at a much more comfortable situation or scenario. So something to keep in mind. I remember a buyer I had back in 2020. So right before the pandemic happened, we found this unicorn of a house for him. It was a ranch on a basement. They wanted something with a separate living quarters. It was a great price. We had been searching for months for this house. And the buyer got cold feet about this house. We had it under contract, excellent inspection report, and the buyer got cold feet. And he thought that the market was going to change. And so, gave him my best advice and say, I completely respect your decision. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it is your family, your money. So they let that house go. They decided they were going to rent for a year, and then they were going to come back and see what the market was like, anticipating that the market was going to go down. Sadly, they cannot afford that same house anymore. They are completely outpriced because what they were looking for has increased in value so much that they can't afford that. And so they're still renting years later. Hindsight's 2020, right? So we can't necessarily cast any blame or anything like that, but it is just something to keep in mind. And it just breaks my heart because I don't want them in a situation where they want a house, but they can't get it. But you can only do the best information with what you have. So as we are talking about things, if you have any questions about making a move in 2023 or anything like that, I would love to answer your questions as we are talking things through today, answering your questions. Crawlers and Customs. Sorry, you're buying a house with Ashley. Yep, she is fantastic. Looking in Flowery Branch, Beaufort, and Cumming. Those are all excellent areas. You also said that you cannot wait for Open Door to go bankrupt. Same here. That is a slow, painful death. So Open Door is an iBuyer, and some of you may not have Open Door in your market, but Open Door is a company that buys homes directly from sellers. And interestingly enough, pre-pandemic, they would make an offer directly to sellers, or they would solicit things in the mail where they would say, hey, we'll buy your home for cash. No need to put it on the market. Typically, that offer that they would give you would be sometimes tens of thousands of dollars less than what that seller would have got if they went on the open market and would have sold their home with a real estate agent, with a buyer on the open market. And sometimes though, what we found is that some sellers just wanted that convenience. They didn't care about the money that they were leaving on the table, or they weren't educated enough to realize the equity that they were leaving on the table by not selling on the open market. Well, then came along the pandemic, and huge demand for housing, and these iBuyer companies like Open Door, they were going and making insanely great offers to sellers. Sometimes offers more than what a real estate agent, when I would look at comps and say, hey, this is what you should sell your house for. And then Open Door would offer $10,000 more. And I'd be like, oh, that's a fantastic offer. You should buy it from them. So they buy the homes and then they turn around and then sometimes they fix them up a little bit and they put them on the market. Usually, obviously, they have to make money or they try to make money. So they would increase the price of the house. Typically, the repairs that we would see done on these homes were not that good. And so we have a saying in the South called putting lipstick on a pig. And not all of their houses, but a lot of their houses, you could kind of apply that saying. They would just put lipstick on a pig. They wouldn't truly fix something. They would just kind of come in and do some cosmetic updates, but think like painting wood rot. Instead of like replacing the wood, they would just slap some paint on it and think that you wouldn't notice. So here recently, over the past 6 months to a year, Open Door has gotten stuck with a lot of these homes that they purchased in 2021 and earlier in 2022, and now they're trying to sell them and they overpaid for them. They're losing money on these houses, and they still have to get them off their books. And so if you look at homes that have been on the market for more than 60 or 90 days, almost 95% of them are owned by Open Door because they've overpaid for them. They're trying to overprice them. They just slowly trickle that price down until they can find a buyer. But if you're house hunting, if you're in a market with Open Door, just really make sure that you get a home inspection whenever you're buying an Open Door with a very good home inspector, because you want to make sure that you're not buying one of those houses where it's lipstick on a pig, as we say. Am I the only one anybody else use that phrase that's watching lipstick on a pig? I like it. It's a good phrase. It applies to a lot of situations. All right, so let's jump back over here to this money article. And again, if you have any questions about making a move, I would love to answer those no matter where you're at in the country. Have any questions? I would love to answer that for you. I'd also love to know where you're watching from. So if you're joining us for the first time or second or third time, however many times, please let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to say hello and know where we are reaching. So we know that mortgage rates are going to come down. That's what experts are predicting. And according to this money article, experts are also predicting that home prices will level off. And so we have talked about this, right? So it's saying that the experts forecast range from prices falling 4% to a price increase of more than 5%. So why that range? Well, prices falling 4%, you're taking that average and you're looking at markets that are on the West Coast, Seattle, California cities, Arizona, all of those areas were grossly overpriced, and they're seeing a huge pullback in demand, which is really causing those home prices to come down. But then you look at the NAR economists, and they're predicting that the Atlanta market is going to be one of the markets to look out for in 2023. And they're expecting that the demand is going to hold steady here, and that we are going to see a normal price increase of around 5% for houses. They go on to say that the only near certainty is that there won't be double-digit price increases. That is such welcome news, right? It's ridiculous to, have a home price increase 20% year over year. That's just totally not sustainable in this market. We have two economists that are predicting the 4% drop in median home prices in 2022, or compared to 2022. And then we have one of those that's predicting a 0.5% decline. So this is an interesting point. We are seeing right now, and I'm sure if you are on any type of home alert or searching for houses on Zillow, you are seeing price decrease alerts for homes. And some of that, a large portion of those price decreases can really be attributed to either the agent pricing the home wrong or the seller having unrealistic expectations of what they could purchase their house for, or sell their house for rather. So here's a great example. Recently house hunting with a client, and we had looked at a house in Alpharetta. The home that we were looking at was listed for $925. And so the seller or the buyer, said, hey, let's do some research. I want to make sure this home is priced right. So of course, the first thing that we do is we go back and we look at most recent home sales in that exact neighborhood. And so I came across a home that sold in June. This house was pretty identical. They both had a pool. They both had some updates. had similar sizes with finished basement. So all the things that would kind of like check the boxes of a comparable home. So this house, they listed it back in the spring, and they listed this house for $925. This was a home that went for multiple offers, and it sold for $975. So they listed it for $925. They got multiple offers, sold for $50,000 over asking price, $975. Well, the current seller of the house that was listed for $925 today had an excellent agent. This agent looked at it and said, hey, this house, its fair market value back in the spring was really $925. They just got lucky and they had a really great market. And they were able to get $975 for this house, but this house is still fairly priced. The fair price should be around $925. So that's what they listed that house for. They got multiple offers within that first weekend of being on the market, and it's under contract now. So that's a great example of where this seller had a great agent and they listened to the agent, and they did not try to price their house at $975. Now, had they priced their house at $975, this house would be sitting on the market today. And those are the houses that you're seeing those price drops on. So just something to keep in mind as you're house hunting. This house that I'm talking about right now, this was located in the area of Alpharetta. So that's a very popular area that we serve. Clarissa, you are watching us from, the wrong one. You're watching us from Fullerton, California. Looking forward to helping you move to the Gainesville area. I love Gainesville. That's where I live. And there's a lot of great revitalization going on here. Or not really revitalization, but enhancements, you could say. It's getting even better than what it is currently. Charles says a lot of homes that have been on the market for 75 days or more have been pulled off the market for a few weeks and then put back on again. Yes. And hopefully these sellers, whenever they're putting them back on the market, they're putting them back on the market with a new price. And so sometimes you have stubborn sellers, or again, who knows if it's like the chicken or the egg. It's either the stubborn seller or it could be the agent that is just not giving them really good advice. But we will see some of these sellers that are pulling their home off the market, put them back on the market after the first of the year as we kind of enter into the spring season. So the good thing for buyers right now is that we are seeing more inventory come on the market. We're seeing more negotiations with the sellers that currently have their home on the market. So still, some of those best houses are selling pretty quickly, within 24 or 48 hours, sometimes with multiple offers, depending upon the price point and the condition of the house. But for buyers, you have the ability now to go out, spend a weekend, look at houses, figure out which one is your favorite, go home and think about it, sleep on it, and decide which one you want to make an offer on. And we are also able to get, for the most part, we're able to see sellers negotiating on closing costs. We're able to see sellers buying down the interest rate, or contributing money towards doing that. And we are also seeing more contingency contracts being accepted. So a contingency contract is whenever you have a home to sell where you're currently at. And so what you're saying to the seller is that my offer to purchase your home, this contract, is contingent upon me being able to sell, as the buyer, my house back wherever it is. And so if for some reason the contract were to fall through on the sale of the buyer's home, existing home, that buyer would then be able to come back to the seller and say, hey, I want out of this contract. My ability to purchase this home just fell apart. Or you can go back to the seller and say, hey, this contract just fell apart. I need more time. And so let's extend this contract, or give me some more time to get another contract on my home. Typically, we see this in scenarios where the buyer needs the funds from the house that they're selling in order to purchase the new house that they're under contract for, that they want to purchase. That's why you would do a contingency contract. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. So if you're in that situation, the past 2 years, it's been really, really hard to get those contracts accepted. And now that makes it for a much easier scenario, especially if you're moving from out of state or across the state. A lot of times we work with clients who they have to sell their home where they're at before they can purchase the home here. Charles said a lot of homes, yeah, we talked about that one being put back on the market. Coldeep said, How do you see or project new construction single family homes inventory for 2023? Oh, I love this question. So I just made a video on new construction outlook for 2023. So if you are in the market for a new construction home, specifically like right now, over the next couple of months, you are in a great position. And in some ways, in areas where we have some resale homes competing with new construction, it's making it really hard for those resale homes to compete with the new construction because the builder has kind of some more built-in options for how to incentivize buyers to buy a new construction home. So one of the things that we are seeing right now in the market is builders are offering some pretty dang good incentives for a buyer to purchase a new construction home. What does that look like? Typically, the builder is offering some substantial amount of money to go towards your closing cost. So at least $5,000. And some price points, I just saw a home the other day, the builder was giving $50,000 to use any way you wanted it. And so you're thinking, okay, well, how could I use that money? Well, you can use it to buy down the interest rate. You can use it to cover the closing cost. You could use it to cover some appliances that would go in the house, or things like blinds or landscaping, some additional upgrades that you wanted to do to the home. There's a lot of ways that you could use that money. You could also use it to prepay HOA fees. But builders right now, they don't want this inventory on their books. They are nervous. They're a little bit more nervous than what all the economists out there are predicting because they don't like standing inventory. They want to get that out as quickly as possible because a builder is paying interest, carrying that loan cost every single day that home is still on the market. They really want to get these 2022 homes that were built off their books. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. We are seeing a lot of construction, new construction starts is what they call them. So the economists will look at new construction starts to see how many new homes are builders building nationwide. How many permits are they pulling every single month? And they kind of use that to predict the outlook of the supply that's going to be available. Part of the reason that we have had such a huge supply shortage over the past couple of years is because ever since the recession of 2007, 2008, a lot of builders went completely bankrupt. They went under. Lenders made it so hard for these builders to get financing that a lot of these builders just went on to different trades. They went on to something else completely. They left the business. And so you have substantially less builders today building houses than what you did, 15 years ago. So because they kind of got their hand slapped, or because they kind of got left with a bad taste in their mouth from the 2007, 2008 recession, builders have been very, very pessimistic about building houses and have built way less inventory than what they historically have done over the past 15 years. So this is the reason why we have such a shortage of homes, especially here in the Metro Atlanta area. They built homes at such a slow pace and such a slow number of homes that now all of a sudden you have all these people that want houses, and builders can't really keep up with that type of demand. And on the one hand, you say that, but then you're like, well, then why do they want to get rid of the inventory that they have? Or why are they kind of freaking out? Well, they're just kind of pessimistic to begin with. So even though we're seeing some builders kind of slow back the amount of homes that they're building, the historic data and what the demand tells us is that there needs to be a lot more homes being built. So what we are seeing being built a lot is townhomes and apartment complexes and multifamily homes. So because of the huge supply or the huge demand for houses, and because the past couple of years have been very difficult for buyers to actually buy a home, well, you have to live somewhere, right? So these buyers are going into rentals, and rent prices have just steadily increased year over year over year. So investors, people are like, okay, well, let's build more apartments. Let's build more things that we can rent out for these people, because sadly, some of these people that maybe could have bought a home maybe 5 years ago, a lot of economists are kind of predicting that first-time housing market option may be out of reach for some people based on income and a lot of other factors. So that's a really kind of complicated mess of a situation, but that is why you see so many apartment buildings and townhomes popping up everywhere. So that was a really, really long-winded way of answering your question of predicting new construction single-family homes. For sure, you're going to have an easier time getting one of these houses than what you could the past 2 years. So in that video that just came out about new construction homes, I talked about that for some of these builders over the past 2 years, demand was so high, and then we also had supply chain issues, that a lot of builders weren't even putting the homes on the market until they were 100% finished. And that's unusual for a builder. Typically, you could go and you could pick out your lot, you could pick out the finishes, or you could go look at 3 or 4 different houses that were in the process of being finished, or maybe a couple months away from being finished, pick out the one that you liked and go under contract. Because there was so much uncertainty in the market, because pricing was all over the place, because the cost of materials was all over the place, builders really had a hard time predicting what the actual value of the house was. And so that's why they kind of pulled back and they said, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're just not even going to list this house until it's 100% finished. And then in some instances, we saw circumstances where they would send out an email and they'd say, okay, we're releasing these 3 homes this weekend. Send us your best offer. And you would have multiple offer situations for a new construction house. That was unheard of in the new construction world. And in some parts of the country, I know I have a counterpart in the Dallas, Texas area. They had like a lottery where you had to wait for your number to be drawn to then have an opportunity to make a offer. And again, it was like a multiple offer situation. So that is crazy. We're not expecting that to happen or a return to that at all. So you're in a much, much better position to buy a new construction home. One thing I talk about in that video is that you always need a great real estate agent representing you whenever you buy a new construction home. The agents that are on site at those new construction complexes, they represent the builder. And so it's never going to cost you any more to buy that house by having an agent represent you. Stephanie is joining us. You're a Metro Atlanta resident. When do you think prices will start to decline to pre-pandemic prices? Oh, okay. That is a loaded question. So the economists for the Metro Atlanta area are not predicting that those home prices are going to decline. They're expecting it to kind of hold steady and have small increases and kind of like level out to a normal appreciation of year over year of 5%. So I actually have, let's see, a slide. Let's look at this. So these were home price forecasts for 2023. This was looking at several different economists from different agencies and things like that. And this is, of course, is looking at the market, the housing market all across the United States. But you have Realtor.com, National Association of Realtors, HPES, they all predicted an increase in home prices in 2023. But you see how low these are. 0.3%, 2.6%, 5.4%, 0.1%. And then, of course, you have on the other side, you have these folks that are also predicting home prices to fall. But even if we took this into consideration and we said, okay, worst case scenario, home prices are going to fall, let's say between 2 to 5% in the Metro Atlanta area, worst case scenario. Well, home prices have increased during the pandemic, 20% year over year. We went through 2 years of double-digit growth. So even if home prices fell 5%, they would still have to continue to fall year over year over year to wipe away all of those gains that happened during the pandemic. So and what other economists are predicting is that we are not going to get back to those pre-pandemic levels unless there is something catastrophic were to happen to the U.S. economy that we just don't know or haven't been able to predict. But the National Association of Realtors chief economist, and I shared this article a little while ago, earlier in the video or this live stream, he said that that the Atlanta market is the top market that they're expecting to outperform other metro Atlanta areas in 2023. So when they say that, they're expecting these home prices in these areas to climb by at least 5% in 2023. So this is why I really stress to buyers that I'm having conversations with right now, if they think that the market is going to crash, I'm just not seeing that the data from economists here locally that are looking at the metro Atlanta area, that they're calling for that and that they're predicting that. But who knows? Time will tell, right? And if you feel that strongly about it, then the only thing we have to do is just to wait and see if that actually plays out. Really, really great question. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, so going back to the money article, and of course we are answering your questions about what is going on in the housing market, helping you move. If you have any questions about moving to Georgia or anywhere in the US, answering those questions that you may have. Thank you for joining us, and I hope everyone had a very, very Merry Christmas. All right, jumping back to this money article, inventory will remain tight. So I do want to talk about this because one of the things that we need for home prices to come down is for inventory, the supply, to come up. But keep in mind that a lot of these sellers have really great interest rates on their house. So some people move every 3 to 5 years. They just live in a house and they're like, yeah, I want a bigger one, or we want a bigger backyard. They don't necessarily have to move, but they want to move. And so these folks that have refinanced their interest rate into one of these low interest rates that were offered over the past couple of years. And so they're looking at a 2.9% interest rate or a 3.2% interest rate. When they go to sell this house, they may have a ton of equity in the house, but they're looking at, one, home prices are way more expensive than whenever they bought this house. And then two, that 3% interest rate that they had is now going to be 5.75% interest rate. Financially, it just may not make sense for them to sell. And that's what a lot of sellers are evaluating. And so some of these people that would have sold, they're just going to stay. They're going to be like, it's going to have to be a really great house at a really great price for me to have to walk away from this 3% interest rate. So that is a real big reason of why this inventory is going to remain tight. A lot of the people that we see selling right now are selling because they have to sell. Jobs, births of children, divorce, death, things like that. You're always going to have people that will have to sell, but these people that just sell because they want a new house, that's a large part of the reason of why we're also kind of in this mess that we're in, where we have big demand and low inventory. So right now it says that there's an equivalent of a 3.3 month supply of existing homes available for sale, and they're expecting that to increase by 23% in 2023. So that's a good thing for buyers. So you're going to have more to choose from, but it's still not going to put us in that category where it's going to become a buyer's market. In order to have a buyer's market, that's a balanced market is 6 month supply of inventory. So to have a buyer's market, we have to get over that 6 month threshold of inventory. And so what that means is that if no new buyers entered the market at any given point in time, that month supply of inventory would be how long would it take for the remaining houses that are available to sell. So it would, if it's currently right now a 3.3 month supply of inventory, that means that with all the available buyers looking right now, if no new buyers enter the market, it would take 3 months to sell all of the current inventory that is there. All right. And their last prediction is that there's going to be more variability between the markets. And so it says hot was the most common used word to describe the majority of the real estate markets as recently as the first few months of 2022. No doubt about that, especially here in the metro Atlanta area. We are definitely an area that was kind of like a Zoom town. This is the first time I've seen that phrase. Cities that attracted a large number of pandemic buyers who had shifted to remote work were looking for more affordable housing. That is definitely the case for the North Metro Atlanta area. We attracted a lot of people from California and Florida and New York. Now you could work from anywhere, and what you can get for $600,000 here in the Metro Atlanta area versus $600,000 in California is just laughable. And they're saying that there will be markets, particularly in the South and Midwest, that remain very much in demand and could see home prices increasing throughout. So that is definitely what we are anticipating to see here in the Metro Atlanta area, and that is what we've seen some economists predict as well. All right. Alex said, still waiting on my Florida home to sell. I'm at 450, only getting offers at 400. My floor is 430. I can't wait to sell. Georgia homes have been a thrill to look at since I've moved here 3 months in an apartment. Yes, Alex, I hope you're getting some really good advice from your real estate agent down there. Sometimes pulling your house off the market and then relisting it at a new price can kind of create a new opportunity for you to get you, a price that's acceptable to you, but not at that 400 level of what you're currently getting. Stephanie said, I know that's a hard question to answer, but appreciate the detailed info and answered. Thank you so much. Do you have any suggestions for finding affordable housing as a millennial? Yes. So affordable housing is a relative term, right? So there are areas around the Metro Atlanta area that you can find a house around 250, but the biggest opportunity for affordable housing is really in those townhome communities. So we're seeing some pretty good pricing in that. And I know that sometimes a townhome is not maybe the most desirable way to get into the real estate market for most people. Most people have that dream of having, their own yard and having their own standalone house, but townhomes are more affordable. You have someone that's keeping up with the exterior maintenance of the house. And it's a great way to live in something for a couple of years, build some equity, sell that, and then use that equity from the sale of that home to then be able to purchase your actual single family residential home. Or you could keep that house, rent it out, get the rental income from that, and use that rental income to help you pay the mortgage of your new home a couple of years down the road. That is a very, very popular way that a lot of people kind of gain generational wealth and gain money in the real estate market. Alex says, interest rates suck. Can't wait for them to stabilize a bit. Yes. So good news ahead is that we are anticipating that those interest rates are going to continue to fall a little bit, that they're going to get back into those upper fives, mid 5 range and kind of settle there next year. So over the past 6 weeks, we have seen a steady decline in mortgage rates. Now, I know I'm going to get this question. A lot of you have seen headlines that said the Fed raised interest rates. They did it again. Well, the Federal Reserve rate, although it's kind of tied to mortgage interest rates, they're not directly tied together. So it's not like they go exactly hand in hand. They do kind of complement each other. But one thing to know about the Federal Federal Reserve rate, we in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry have known for the remainder of the year that the Fed has planned to raise these interest rates all along to damper down inflation. So the mortgage industry has known this. They know that these interest rate hikes are coming. They've already built that into their pricing. That's why you saw interest rates go up to 7.5%, 2 or 3 months ago. And then they worked their way back down. So anytime that you see these recent hikes, they just did one, I think last week or week and a half ago, mortgage people, they've already factored that rate hike already into the rates that were already out there in the marketplace. So that's why you did not see mortgage rates spike whenever that announcement was made. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I'd love to answer any more questions that you may have. Alex, you said that pools with homes still available under 400. Yep, they're definitely outside of the perimeter. You can find some of those, especially if you look out towards like Winder, Monroe, Auburn area, Commerce. You can find some homes with pools out there under 400. They are out there. Gainesville area, they have a handful here as well. So I'm curious of y'all watching. Is anyone considering making a move or have it as a goal to make a move in 2023, specifically here to Georgia? If you don't know this, we try to host this live stream every single week on Wednesday. We put out a recorded video every single Sunday educating you about the Georgia real estate market and all the areas around the North Metro Atlanta area. And we help people that are watching just like you relocate here. So if you're thinking about making a move, and I would love to be your real estate agent of choice. The contact information is below this video, and you can reach out to us via text or email, whatever way that you want to find us. I have some people reach out to me on Instagram, which I think is funny because we leave our phone number and email directly below this video, but I am all for it. Any way that you want to get in touch with me is great, because I love, love, love helping people just like you that are watching this relocate. And it's so fun to introduce people to Georgia and the area. Oh, we have A. Milton watching from Brazil. Welcome. That's I wonder if that's the furthest away that we have someone watching right now, because that is definitely cool. So thank you. Thank you for spending your time with us. Alex is going to be making a move as soon as his house sells in South Florida. I know that we're working with you, Alex, and we're excited about that, that you're renting right now and you're just waiting for your home to sell. Ryan found an amazing home with a pool and in-law suite right there in Dawsonville. That is a great price point, especially for Dawsonville, $400. That is a really, really great area. I know that you've heard us talk about it here on the live stream before as well. Alex, yeah, you said there is an indoor pool home in Gainesville under $400. There's a really unique home that is on the market in Gainesville right now. It has an indoor pool. And what stands out to me about these pictures is that it's an indoor pool, but yet the pool is full of leaves. So I guess someone left the windows open on this home. Leaves blew into the pool, and the listing agent or the seller did not clean out these leaves from the pool before they took the picture. So there's just like, I don't know, it's just an odd thing to see. The house needs some work, and it's a very interesting, unique, older kind of like 80s style house with an indoor pool. It's the first indoor pool that I have seen in a long time. So yeah, Alex said, yeah, that's the one. Hey, Alex, yeah, I think that would be a great house, and you can fix that up. And I'd love to see what you do to it. Some of these houses that people are taking that were built like in the 70s and 80s and renovating them. It's so cool to see what people are doing. Mark, yes, you are moving to Cumming area next week. You're going to close on your home. We're super excited for you. I know that there's been a little bit of bumps along the way for you, but we are so excited. New year, new house, new location in 2023. Thank you so much for trusting us with your business and helping y'all relocate. Of course, Charles is in the New York metro area, and he's changing jobs and moving in 23 and going to rent for a couple of years. So definitely an option for you renting. When my husband and I relocated here from South Georgia, we rented for a year before we bought. Back then, we weren't quite sure. It was a hurried move for us, so we had to hurry up and get here for a job. So we also had a home to sell, and that was just a lot going on. This is also pre-real estate days for me. I was a teacher back then, working in the school system. So we definitely rented, and it was a great year that we spent renting, trying to get familiar with the area and where we wanted to be. So I definitely like that idea. Yeah, it's definitely a great option. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight, joining me tonight. I hope you had a very, very Merry Christmas, and hope you have a happy New Year. We'll be dropping a video this coming Sunday about the 2023 housing market, and I'll join you back here next Wednesday for a live stream at 6 o'clock Eastern. Again, if you need help relocating or moving anywhere, reach out to us. The contact information is below this video. We'd love to serve you, and if it's an area that we serve you, or if not, I have really great agent partners all across the country that can help you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope everyone has a happy new year, and I hope buying a new home is on your list for 2023. See y'all next year.